Absolutely.
Well, welcome to another episode Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Garin.
Hey, thank you. I'm stoked to be here. This is gonna be a lot of fun.
Garin, I could ask you a million questions, but I just have one really, really good one. Are you
Okay,
ready? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
If you could choose any pet in the world to have, what pet would you want?
Oh man, excellent question. Dragon, probably.
Okay, that hits close to my heart because I used to have a bunch of dragon posters when I was a kid. I'll out myself. Why dragon? What would you do with your dragon?
Well, flying on its back, I feel like is a given answer. Because if I'm gonna fly on something, I want it to be powerful. I want to be able to, soar wherever I want. And if you're doing a flyover on something flimsy, they may try and take you out of the air, but no one's going to mess with a dragon. So you could do the flyovers. You could go to cities that you've never been to before, and really, it would be an unusual experience because everyone would be looking at you. So you would get the full glimpse of the city. Nothing would be in your way.
Damn it,
Um,
I don't have an argument to that. I was gonna toss out something like maybe a beta fish because I wouldn't. I was thinking like classical pets, not a fucking dragon. That was one that threw me off the map. I was like, hold on a second, if we can get mystical, I want like a griffin or something that's like manageable to fly because I feel like a dragon at one point someone's gonna be like, we need to nuke that. Like that's in the sky right now.
well, I think it also depends on the dragon's level of sentience. We see them in various, it could be a feral beast. It also could be a very intelligent creature. We don't know, because we haven't tried to tame them yet.
Was it like the Rick and Morty version where it talks to you? I don't want my dragon to talk to me. I just want him to slow head nod. So even if he's disagreeing, it looks like he's agreeing.
Yes. Yeah. A dragon that understands, but maybe doesn't communicate back. Because otherwise, it's not a pet at that point. It's like a friend, or even maybe you are its pet.
You know how many people have spent years trying to wish that their pet could talk to them? Like, I wonder what my dog thinks. No, don't ever wonder that because I guarantee you're not going to like the answer. Imagine if your chihuahua that you think has a sweet, innocent voice is like, I wish you'd fucking die. You're like,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa, that's a tough chihuahua.
I don't think we're ready for that.
I'm not. I think it's weird how technology is advancing really far, and I'm scared with the monoliths. Nobody wants to talk about the monoliths.
Mm. Because where is that leading to? What is that the next step towards?
That's why I think it's like acupuncture for Earth. They're just finding all our soft spots by putting them in different areas, and these are where all they keep popping up. Next thing you know, it's just gonna, well, here's where we hit, and then that'll be the end all.
Well, do you buy into ley lines?
What?
Ley lines, the energy currents that run through Earth.
I thought you said landlines, first of all. I was like, I'm pretty sure I had one of those when I was young. But ley lines, I mean, what do you mean? That the monoliths are targeting those?
Well, yeah, if you're saying it's like acupuncture, because acupuncture is supposed to target certain, I'm not familiar, but certain parts of your body that would trigger, positive effects, presumably. So if they're putting these monoliths into Earth, are they putting them in ley lines? Or, I mean, if you're going to build it, you need to at least know where you're putting it, right?
I feel like if you're an alien from another planet and you're looking down on this planet, what would your description of that be? Like, what would you describe to people that we're seeing if you pulled it up on a screen and you're an alien species looking at Earth right now?
That's a tough question because how do you separate yourself from what we already understand about Earth? But if I was looking at it, I guess I would see a very highly civilized place. We have constructed over almost every square inch of this planet. There are very few sections of green left. I don't know about you. I live in Central Florida, which even when I moved down here about 10 years ago, there were still plenty of groves, plenty of forest, and a lot of that has already been carved away for new homes. So I think it's going to look like in a few more years, it's going to be like Silent Running. Do you ever see that movie?
Mm-mm. I heard
Well,
cool. I thought you were going to talk about Cool Runnings. I was like, I love that movie.
I wish it looked more like Cool Runnings, but I think it's going to look like Silent Running, where the entire planet is completely industrialized and it's always 75 degrees no matter where you go, and there's no nature left.
I look at it like how our reaction was when Mexico has an air force. And we were like, holy shit, Mexico has an air force. Like, that's what the aliens are probably looking at Earth like, holy shit, these guys are going to nuke the whole entire planet and this is going to be over with. What are we going to do?
Yeah, no, I think a lot of science fiction has got it right where aliens may be aware of us, but they're not bothering with us because they just don't think we're worth the trouble.
I think maybe movies have kind of influenced like this thing into our heads that aliens exist. So if we ever do come across one, we won't just have a panic attack and die.
Mm-hmm.
Because Buzz
It would be a lot
Aldrin,
to process.
I don't know if you've ever heard Buzz Aldrin speak about what he's seen up in outer space. None of it is appealing. None of it is easygoing for the soul. He's like, there was water on Mars. There's an obelisk on, or no, there's water on the moon. There's an obelisk on Mars, and aliens built the pyramids. And you're just like, you're fucking nuts. And then you find out that there's water on the moon. Then you start going, how much of his shit is nuts? Like, is this guy actually like, he's got some information, and is NASA venting their astronauts when they go into outer space?
Mm. But I did not know that Buzz felt that way. And if our astronauts do feel that way, that is very eye-opening.
I mean, they say
I was going to touch on how aliens probably built the pyramids, and not because I'm a conspiracy theorist, but because I think the pyramids are so much more scientifically constructed than we build things now. I mean, now we build things big and strong, and they could last a long time and energy efficient or whatever. But the exact positioning of the pyramids is pretty fascinating. We don't take that into account anymore.
I want to go down that rabbit hole with you, but earlier today, before this recording, I had an Egyptologist on, and
And they had way more intelligent things to say than I possibly could.
Fucking deflated my whole talk on aliens building the pyramids. He's like, well, it's like a bench, and people just like, you know, when you have a gravestone, people add on stuff to it. That's what the pyramids were. They were these giant things to hold inside a sarcophagus or something, and it was like a bench. They built one layer at a time, and after years and years, they keep adding a layer and layer. I'm like, damn it, I wanted to think it was like a radio transmitter. Why can't life ever be that fun? Why does it always have to be the simple shit? Why can't there be Earth? And then inside of that is Brendan Fraser with that one kid, I don't know his name, from Hunger Games, who is just trying to survive.
I also don't know that kid's name, but
nobody does.
No.
Everyone always says he's the baker from Hunger Games.
I guess education does ruin the magic a little bit. You know, if I learned more, I might become aware that dragons are not possible or feasible. But at this point, I don't have that knowledge, so I can still dream.
That's why, like, I was attracted to your page, not like sexually attracted, but I was drawn in, not just because of the name, Channel 34. Like, it's a news thing. Like, that's what the media to me is just this thing of making you feel like the world is a terrible place to live in and you're going to die as soon as you step out of your porch. But when I see something like that and there's comedy involved, I'm like, oh my God, they're doing like what fake news would be, but like just more comedy, like being obvious or blatant about it. But they're more of comedy sketches. But that's just the initial response that I got. So I was like, shit, hell yeah, I want to know more about Channel 34. It's like one of those, you know, where you're looking through the channels, there's 33, then it goes to 35, and you're like, where the fuck was 34? And like you're trying to find it, and it's like, we don't have that connection. It's like, why don't we have it? It's because it's good. We don't want you to have it.
Oh no, thanks. I chose the name because it was vague enough that I think it could be anything that I wanted it to be. My first name was Egg Salad, and I don't think that really conveyed what I was going across.
Take out the mayo. Maybe egg salad without mayo. I would enjoy it.
What is that without mayo?
Fucking still egg salad. I don't know.
No, it's just eggs. It's just mashed up and maybe mustard.
What I didn't even know mayo was involved into it until recently, where I'm like, this tastes really funny, and they're like, it's egg salad, it has mayo in it. I'm like, what you made it before, it didn't taste like this. They're like, yeah, we didn't have mayo. And I was like, bring that back. It's like the McRib.
You don't
bring
like
it back.
Mayonnaise?
No, it's the consistency. That is disgusting.
No, it's very creamy, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No.
There is really no accounting for taste. I'm a big mayonnaise fan. When I found out that tuna salad could have mayonnaise in it, I appreciated tuna salad more.
Actually, I do the bare bones definition of a tuna salad. I do a legit can of tuna on lettuce, and that's it. That's
it.
Yeah.
Nothing else in there.
Cumin.
Okay. Do you eat clean normally, or is that just how you like your tuna salad? Yeah, you're a big clean eater.
Yeah. Mayo to me just looks like one of those things where I used to work at Walmart like 5 winters ago, and I just stocking it on the shelves. I don't give a shit. I just threw it up there. Like, why? You take such care with the cereal. Why are you discarding the mayo like that? I'm like, because I don't like mayo, and I think highly of cereal.
But cereal's got a lot of junk in it.
I don't give a shit about the junk in it. I just don't like the consistency of mayo.
Oh, okay. Oh, so by clean eating, you mean you eat things that feel clean or actually
No, I eat
healthy?
like salads every meal, tuna,
Oh,
chicken
wow.
breast and stuff. But my guilty pleasure, I would say, is probably cereal. Like handfuls of that. I use it as croutons. I don't give a shit. You what? When someone says you can't do that, I say why? Why are you
Yeah.
putting restrictions on me? I'm a person. If I get stomach cancer, so be it.
What's your favorite cereal?
Honey Smacks, the only cereal I got salmonella from.
You got sick from it, but you still love it.
Oh, damn right. I even
That's real
messaged them.
love.
I messaged them. I told them, hey, I got salmonella from your cereal, and I want you to be my sponsor. They still said no. I was like, all right.
They didn't even send you free Honey Smacks?
No, they sent me a bunch of gift certificate stuff that actually a listener, a friend of mine who was on here, sent them multiple emails convincing them to. And they sent me these gift vouchers. It says for any free Kellogg's thing, that's Honey Smacks is their brand or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take that to a fucking store. Nobody's going to honor that shit. It's fucking looks like it's printed out on a piece of paper.
So what do you do with it?
It's just hanging on my wall. I'll send you a
Oh,
picture of it.
okay.
I put it on my story. I was like, well, this is awesome. It has my name on it, but it's not. I went to the store. They're like, we're not fucking accepting this. Cash or card. Pick a fucking
Oh,
lane.
man. That's wild that they wouldn't even just send it to you.
No, it's upsetting too. It's like the manager seems to be the CEO lives in Milwaukee. So I'm like, you already aren't starting off good in my opinion. Okay. Well, what's your favorite cereal?
My favorite cereal. I'll usually go hard with Count Chocula every Halloween.
Dude, I've been looking. I was going to do a cereal review with my buddy. I got to introduce you to him. He does a cereal review show while high. We were looking for Count Chocula to do a review. Couldn't find it. It was bought up. Didn't even happen. But just the other day, I'm at fucking Dollar Tree and they
Uh-huh.
had 4 boxes of family size Blueberry. And I spent $4. And now my life is now Blueberry as my croutons for the time being.
Blueberry's pretty good.
It's the
I
same
think it's the
shit.
second best.
It's the same as Count Chocula, just a different flavor. Blueberry.
Yeah. Well, I don't feel like Frankenberry's there though.
Because it turns your poop awful color.
Yeah, but I'm not concerned about that stage.
You are different than every other 40-year-old mom out there that was taking their kids to the emergency room because they thought their kids were dying internally from pink poop.
Well, if it's in your kids, that's a different story. But for yourself, you're like, whatever.
Yeah, like when you see somebody drink, or like you see a kid pull out whiskey, even if it's your kid and he's of age, you're like, hey, don't do that. But then you go and do it. It's weird.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, we treat ourselves differently. We don't give ourselves the same respect or consideration that we give to our kids or probably other people's kids.
Does that mean?
Have you
Wait,
tried
hold on.
Elf cereal?
No, and I actually was going to do a review on that next week. Is it good?
It is good because it tastes like waffles. No, maple syrup, which is
Yeah,
kind of like waffles. It's maple syrup.
that's what he did in the Elf movie. He dumped maple syrup
Exactly.
and everything. That's just a
Yeah.
lot of sugar.
It's very sugary.
Well, where's Ego stand? Is Ego pissed?
Well, it's not waffles. I just misspoke. I mean, waffles to me taste like syrup because I drown my waffles in syrup.
That's what I'm saying. That's the taste of waffles. If you try and eat a blank waffle, it doesn't taste like anything. But if you put syrup on it, it tastes like something.
Exactly. Yeah, it tastes like syrup.
It's like when
Which
you
is
think.
great.
It's like when you figure out if you use that little thing that Hot Pockets give you, the little magnetic or whatever, looks like tinfoil kind of, and you use that. It's the oven pocket. It actually cooks the inside of the Hot Pocket for you, so it's never cold. But people
Right.
use it and they put their Hot Pocket on a napkin. If you do that with anything that involves cheese or a sauce and you put it on a fucking napkin, what the hell are you doing? That's an issue I have. But putting it on a plate and then they stick it in the oven pocket. Don't.
Mhm.
You're supposed to cook it in that pocket because it heats the inside.
Yeah, and heating the inside is the most difficult part, so that's why they provided you that technology.
But people just want to give themselves a handicap every single time something happens.
Mm,
This got deep quick.
it did.
Yeah,
We're making life more difficult for ourselves.
that's
a good point.
It's easier to make life difficult, right? You just take the smallest little thing and turn it into something big.
Yeah, I have a hard time making sure I follow every single direction when there's directions before me. I'm classic in the fact that I think, oh, I can handle this, and then I'll mess something up very small. It's like, well, if I just stopped and read that direction, I wouldn't have made this mistake.
You just explained my life after failing at making mashed potatoes. I
Oh,
thought
yeah?
the whole, like, I just thought, hey, crawl into bed, don't even get out, and just don't even, you're not a fit to be a adult at all. But then I can do a million other good things. I can understand Egyptology or space science or astrophysics, but I can't make fucking mashed potatoes to save my life.
It's because your confidence took over. You thought, I understand Egyptology, I can make mashed potatoes, I don't need the training wheels. But no, those directions are there for a reason.
I followed the directions, but I didn't put milk in it because I don't do milk.
Oh, you don't do milk? Well, that sounds like, yeah, that's your life choice kind of hindering you there. It didn't get very creamy then, did it?
Would you say life? No, it looked like clam chowder. But would you say life choice, or would you say God telling me, "Hey, you're lactose intolerant"? I'm like, I can't do dairy.
Right.
I'm not on some like keto vegan thing where I'm like, let me just eat nothing but plants. No, you need meat. You need to survive.
What about a lactate pill? You don't take those?
Only pill I want to take is the one that whisks me off this magical land into a land of ecstasy.
Well, as a fellow lactose intolerant human being, I could tell you Lactaid is a very simple little pill that you take with your first bite of the milk or whatever you're going to have, and it really eases the stomach.
That's what they said about almond milk. I don't trust a thing that's not really milk, I would say. You know what I mean?
You don't. We have almond milk almost exclusively in our house.
It's soaked in almonds. That's all it is. It's not.
Well,
can't get milk from it. It's not a plant. Or
it's not. I mean, it's not milk, really. But once you have it for long enough, you kind of forget what milk tastes like, and so it just becomes milk for you.
Look. There are words in this world that mean one thing, and then they can also mean something else. Like read can also be red. And then there's things like cacao and then coca.
Right.
I tried to get a person that was a farmer of cacao, and I found a chocolate maker. I'm like, this is cocoa. This isn't cacao. Like, well, it's made with 85% cacao. I'm like, what's cacao? I know one thing. It's the coca bean. What is a cacao? And they're like, I don't know. It's just, we say it because it sounds good. It's like when you say, "Oh, la français," I'm from France. It sounds better because it's got a hint of, like, I would say, spicy mustard to the language.
So your point is that it sounds like milk, but it's not milk.
Yeah, we could take that. I didn't really have a point. I was just kind of going off into my own little bugaboos, I would say. There's 80 different types of milk when you go to the store. It's like having a variant for everything. It's like species. Like there's this insect with 2 wings, and this insect has 2 wings, but there's a nick in one of its wings. It's like, so it's a different species. Yeah, different species. It's like, all right, it's the same thing with milk. There's different categories of milk. 2%, low fat. What the fuck are they doing to the cow?
And you don't mess with the whole genus, huh? You're not.
I walk past the whole damn aisle. I'm tired of it.
Wow.
Even the cheese, I look at it and my stomach gets the rumblings. I'm like,
you can't have any cheese. I've got the cheese advent calendar going on right now.
What is the cheese advent calendar?
It's a big cardboard advent calendar, and every day you open a door and you get a little rectangle of different cheese.
You're that person that eats cheese like that?
Oh, love it.
Oh, I can't do it. I touched blue cheese once and I wanted to chop my hand off.
Oh, blue cheese is fantastic. You're a salad man. You don't put any blue cheese. I mean, I know you got the lactose thing, but take your Lactaid, put your blue cheese on your salad. It might change your life.
No, cereal does enough for me.
Cereal, that's your one joy in eating.
Basically, honestly, I'm thinking about it right now. I got a box of Blueberry that's calling my name, but I'm like, look, it's delicious. You can have it anytime. I eat bran flakes. You don't have to be you're going to be any age to eat those things. But cheese, like, don't trust anything that sweats. That doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, no. Because meat sweats.
I don't eat meat.
You said you weren't keto.
I do chicken and tuna. Clean eating. Red meat messes with my stomach.
Chicken is a meat. Chicken can sweat if you put it in the wrong room.
You have guidelines in your life that you follow that have saved you and made you to this age you are today.
Of course, yeah.
My guidelines are: don't eat steak because it's something kills a lot of people every year.
Yeah.
Don't eat cheese just because it sweats. And don't trust anybody named Greg.
Rick?
Greg.
Greg.
You got fucking Rick out of Greg. That's a good one.
I think maybe I wanted to hear Rick because Rick's can be a little abrasive sometimes, in my opinion.
It's the K in the name.
Yeah. that hard sound.
Yeah,
It's like
when
the
that
name is a curse word.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, would you like a like imagine if you're named Karen today? I think that just all adapted our ears to just hate that name. It sounds like needles going in it.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. I don't think there's going to be a lot of babies named Karen this year.
I wonder what people are going to name their babies of 2020 or
It's a good question.
2021. Jonifer.
We probably are at a stage where we need to start mashing more names together to get new names.
Yeah, I think my whole entire life I never wanted to be a person to have the same name as somebody else. But then there's like 8 people in my family named Rob, so it's like, all right, well I'll be Rob with 2 B's. And then it's like you're like the kid at school with the 50 armbands on. Like I just want to be different and then just
Yeah,
hop off in the corner.
but you are unique, you know. You just have to accept the fact that your Robness is different from every other Robness, and there's nothing wrong with that. So there's no need to define yourself with a changing of your name, you know, because you are a very specific and unique Rob, and they can't take that away from you.
I would be even better if my name was Beowulf.
Beowulf is an excellent name.
It's a fucking name where if you're that in school, kids aren't gonna mess with you ever in life.
The only thing I don't like about Beowulf is that 3D movie they made in the early 2000s that almost ruined the legend of Beowulf for me.
Was it that bad? I really actually enjoyed that movie. The
You
CGI
did?
one with what's her name? Fish lips lady.
Angelina? She was
Yeah,
in that,
Angelina
right?
Jolie. Yeah,
I
that's
didn't
her.
like it.
Why? Because it was just too much CGI.
It was, but it was also that early 2000s CGI, which was really clunky, and it was the first resurgence of 3D. So like they find random reasons for like a character to be pointing a spear at the screen, and it's an awkward angle. It doesn't make sense for what's happening in the scene, but they just want to pop out at you. Can you do this? Can you get 3D on this? Like this
No,
is what I'm doing.
I wish you could, but I can see it though. I don't do 3D movies. The only one I believe should be 3D was Spy Kids because they give you the glasses in the movies. But I went to go see Up in 3D and I sat front row in the movie theater. Fuck, dude. You have to stare at the middle of the screen and pray to God that it just comes by your line of sight because you get a headache from moving around too much.
That sounds rough.
Yeah.
The only 3D experience I've enjoyed was Avatar.
Avatar is probably it's a very, very good movie. It's the only movie that has caused severe, massive amount of depression with the people who've seen it.
Really? Why?
Yeah, it's really weird. People would think Star Wars just because of how popular it is, but it was the idea of what James Cameron captured in Avatar was a bunch of people looking at this planet that could have been a potential Earth, kind of, and
Mm-hmm.
seeing how mankind, every time it gets involved, has destroyed it and turned it into something. And also the idea of being able to slip into a body that is not your own, but has these gifts or kind of like a new identity really caused massive amount of depression with people. It was insane.
Because they just saw how horrible humans are and how we will never be that wonderful. Okay.
Yeah, it made them take a bigger grasp into what their Earth was like and kind of walking outside. It's like if I showed you what, you're where you live right now, where your house is 1,000 years ago, it'd be this lush land of beauty, of nature, and all these things. And I showed you what it is now, and then you see a hobo spitting his teeth out on the street and shit. And you're like, fuck, this is where I live.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. That's rough. I saw it one time in theaters. I enjoyed the subtle 3D-ness of it. The story that may or may not have been Pocahontas. It was good though.
Was a Pocahontas story. That hair, the thing with it's like that's how they communicate. I'm like, so how do you define communicating and having sex with anything that you're talking to? Like that's how they bang. So it was like, wait, is he banging his horse when he's riding it? I don't understand. He goes, no,
Yeah.
I see through you. I'm like, yeah, sure you are. Sure. There's a fucking switch in your ponytail that makes you find those different avenues, huh?
Mm-hmm. It's also a very sensitive thing to just be dangling around the back of your head. I feel like it could get caught or torn off in a lot of ways. And then are you no longer able to talk, or are you completely impotent if your ponytail gets cut off?
How are you going to say
Did they address that? I don't remember.
How are you going to say that when we're guys and we have something that's as sensitive as that dangling in the open?
But we keep it under at least 2 layers of fabric. And fabric, obviously, nothing can penetrate fabric.
That's going to stop somebody from kicking you there, and it's going to hurt the pain unless you get that perfect angle in your jeans where it's impossible to penetrate. You know what I mean? Like it's the perfect
Yeah.
level of tightness, or like you could hit it. Like, look, you could throw a hammer at it. It's not going to work. But no, it never happens.
But if I'm riding an alien horse, that area is a lot more protected than my ponytail.
Depending on where you're trotting at, because your horse, you ever been on a horse bare saddle? That shit ain't fun.
Yeah, but that's part of the fantasy. People don't ride horses bare saddle. That's
People
chaos.
don't ride horses anymore unless it's for an event or you're gambling.
You're right. People don't ride horses anymore.
I used to work at a casino, and I was like, where's the fucking horse races? I want to see these jockeys. I want to see how tall they actually are. They're not really that short. They're actually like my height. So either I'm a midget or that's just normal height of people.
Interesting.
I'm tossing
How tall are you?
I'm 5'8".
I'm 5'8" too. We're jockeys. That's interesting.
Would you want to do that for a living? That seems like a fun career.
I don't think I'd want to do that for a living.
I saw a man fall off of a horse while he was riding on the track, and the horse ran him over.
Oh.
And that stopped me from ever wanting to be a jockey.
I don't suppose the man didn't have to go to the hospital.
No, he went to the hospital. He had like 3 broken ribs.
Oh, the poor guy. Well, because a horse weighs like 1,000 pounds, I'm guessing.
You can't. Horses are like, if you're not clear-minded, then the horse can't ride right. It's like one of the very few animals that can sense that, have that connection with you mentally. Like they can sense if your emotional levels are off. So I'm like, what was the jockey guy thinking about while he was riding? Was he thinking about like what he's going to be doing later that night? Like heading to the club, doing some blow, and then next thing you know, his horse is like, oh, too much, and fucking trots off.
Yeah. And not to be silly, but I think that's probably exactly why in Avatar they connect with the horses in that way, because the creators of Avatar, James Cameron and his team, knew that horses were so sensitive to people. So like, we need to kick this up a notch for this Alien movie and really show that connection.
I just kept thinking, imagine if he fell off and he's just being dragged by his ponytail because he's still attached to the horse.
I hope you have a release, a pull string or something.
Like a parachute, just rip a disc, like when you take your whatever, you plug your TV from the wall, you unplug it. It's like that with the ponytail, just clips off like Mr. Potato Head. Yeah, you need that sort of safety. Dude, get on to Channel 34. Explain to me an episode of Channel 34. I want you to talk about the show because I actually thoroughly enjoy it.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Like I said, it's sketch comedy. It's okay. So on Tuesdays, I release episodes that are, what's that?
Tuesdays.
I release episodes that are part of limited series. My first series was Tree Slayer. On Tuesdays, the Tree Slayer told stories of how he hunts trees. And then after that were the acceptance speeches for a woman that won the EGOT, the Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony. And now, as of this recording, we're currently in DGS's Lit, where it's the morning announcements at the only high school in the country that's always on fire. And so if you listen to those, I recommend listening to them in order. On Thursdays is always a one-off episode that you don't need to hear anything about. I just released an episode, which is a speech from the perspective of a COVID mask, talking to all the other COVID masks and what the great work masks have done for us in 2020.
Where do you come up with the ideas for this?
I have a lot of notebooks that I just write ideas down. I did an episode where I read bad ideas from 2008, one of my notebooks then, because I used to live in Chicago. I used to do sketch comedy and improv around the city. And I had a lot of fun doing that. I got to do some great shows at like Second City and stuff, but then I wanted to act full time because I was actually working at a law firm full time. I was a paralegal. And
that's why I moved from paralegal to doing that?
Orlando.
How do you go from paralegal to doing that?
How do I go from a paralegal? Well, I was a paralegal because when I was in college, my aunt was the executive assistant to the managing partner of the law firm. So they would let me come in the summertime and file papers and stuff as like a summer job. So then when I finished school, they said, do you want to come work here full time? And then go to school online to get your paralegal certification. So that's what I did. And I did that for about 4 years.
And then you decided to go off into something else.
And I went to something else, and I used my theater degree from college to propel me into a job at Walt Disney World, where I've been an actor there for about 10 years.
You work at Disney?
Yes.
Oh, I got questions.
Okay.
I've had one person that has worked at Disney be on this podcast, and I feel like you're the more of the joking type where I can ask some other questions. Does anybody ever die at Disney World, or do they pronounce you dead outside the park?
I personally don't know the answer to that question. I know there are Wikipedias where you can look up accidents that have happened at Disney.
Does it ever get weird? Like, because people always talk about how like you have to stay in character 100%. Do you ever feel threatened?
I have not, and to that effect, my character that I played for about 5 years, I was part of the Citizens of Hollywood, where we always pretended like it was 1947, old
That's
Hollywood, and I was the mayor of Hollywood, Sonny Burbank. You can Google me if you want. And so while my character was out there in the street talking to people, it was all improv comedy kind of gig. If someone got weird, it was within my right and within my power to get myself away from them, walk away. And it never really got that strange. I think the most common confrontation I would experience would be more like someone who was trying to trip me up or someone who was trying to out funny me, and that's not a threatening situation. It's just more, you kind of let them wear themselves out,
That's a really balanced thing that you went from being a paralegal to doing improv theater. I mean, I like the idea of improving or just kind of being in the moment or playing a character or doing whatever, just kind of having a full release because you can be as silly as you want. I mean, you really can make it your own too. Like so much in life is already pretty structured. It's really, really hard to just find that one thing that you can get paid and just let loose. Like the Naked Gun movies. That shit was like, it's not the common same thing. It's just crazy stuff happening out of nowhere. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah. No, I think the lunacy of it was part of a lot what helped me grow in my late 20s, early 30s. And just the freedom to play like that was fantastic for my my own emotional development, which sounds heavy because I wasn't always walking away thinking, wow, I've really grown as a human today. But in the grand scope, that's how I feel about it.
Probably all the influence of being around the Disney stuff too can probably give you some pretty good ideas to write in the sketch show as well. Like the Tree Hunter one. I'm thinking lumberjack, but still the tree hunter type scenario that could be inspired by a lot of things you can come across when you're just walking around Disney or working at a Disney park. The cartoon animations, all this kind of stuff you would see in a Disney film. I mean, Hercules, if you ever seen that animated short movie, there's a part where there's scenes in the swamp and the trees look like they could come out and grab you. So like, let's make a hero that could cut down those trees.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but you're right though. A lot of just when you're riffing all day, things come out of your mouth. They're like, that might be something. I should pursue that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like in the mindset of you like walking around Disney Park and then like having a little notebook like, oh, that kind of looks like, and then writing it down. I love that fascinating process of trying to understand like, how did that person think of a banana that's empty but still has a soul? It's like deep as shit. But you're like, how do you get that? And it's like, oh, he came across when he was walking by the basketball game. He saw the monkey stuffed animal with the banana, and that's where it came from. Or the giant banana, Rasta banana smoking weed. It's like he's trying to find himself. It's like, that's deep as shit. But it's those little funny little ways that you hear that and you're like, oh my God, that's how that was created.
Yeah. On that note, I just saw the other day that Jerry Seinfeld has recently published a book that's called, I think it's called Is This Anything? And it's just a list of all of his ideas from like the 80s till now. And it's just like him writing lists of things being like, is this a joke? Is this funny? It's
burn it.
I'm going to have to grab it.
Burn it down to the ground. You don't need anything that's involved in Jerry Seinfeld. Good God. My credit for you.
Jerry Seinfeld?
I've said it a couple times on here. Yeah, I fucking hate him. It's his voice. I can't do it. Seinfeld's just a show about people. Seinfeld's just a show about people complaining. I don't like it.
I love Seinfeld. I won't die on this hill with you here, but I've now in this conversation, you textures of like mayonnaise and people's voices. These are your bugaboos.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all right. I'm not judging. I'm just observing.
I thought you were comparing me to Jerry Seinfeld. I was like, what are you doing to me?
Well, that sort of level of sensitivity to daily minutia is pretty Seinfeld.
Oh God.
Maybe that's
No,
what you don't like about Jerry, is that he reflects parts of your own self.
people say I look like Tom Holland.
Yeah, I see that.
I'd rather talk to that guy than Jerry Seinfeld, and I
You'd
don't
rather
like
talk to
them
Tom
both.
Holland.
Worst person is Sandra Bullock.
I used to have really long hair, and people always said I looked like David Spade.
I could see that. I
Yeah,
really
I mean,
could.
I got the schnoz here, and when my hair was like down to my shoulders in college, it was very David Spade.
Did you ever roll with it? Like, you ever do the impersonations of maybe you could be like a David Spade impersonator?
I did not. I never pursued that as a career. I never thought that maybe David Spade impersonator was my calling.
The reason I asked that is because Universal Studios pays people that look like there's a person that looks like J Lo, doesn't have
Mhm.
the ass like J Lo, but looks like J Lo, so they get paid to do that. And I'm
Right.
like, I would love to get paid not to be somebody. Just be yourself.
Yeah. Universal Studios Orlando actually has the only man ever to be approved as a Desi Arnaz, Ricky from the Lucy I Love Lucy show. Only one person in history has ever been approved to impersonate him, because Desi Arnaz's family has to do the approval process. So this one guy, just this regular guy, and that's his job, is a full-time Ricky impersonator.
Would it be weird? Would you say, let's say you got famous, like super famous. Would it be weird if someone got a tattoo of your face on their body, or someone was a professional impersonator of you? I feel like that'd be weird to me. Like, what's going on here?
I think that the face tattoo would be a lot weirder for me. Part of the fan base for the Citizens of Hollywood at Hollywood Studios, they did do fan art. And so I've seen drawings of myself in character and things like that. And that's always a little, like, I appreciate it, but it's also a little strange for me.
I had a buddy on here who's a cartoon or comic book illustrator, and he drew me holding up a biscuit that I had to put on a shirt. I think that's fucking cool because it was like an exact represent, like it put me in the comics. But when I see someone get that on their skin or something, I'm like, dude, that's like so weird. Like at Teespring or whatever, where I made the shirt, you can make leggings out of that. And I did it. And it was like the most awkward fucking thing you would have ever seen in your entire life. You're like, your face is on some girl's leggings, but it's not even appropriate. Like the face is all stretched out, like my eye was above the no
Yeah.
square and all that. And I was like, it doesn't make sense. I was like, I don't think I could ever love something that much to get it tattooed unless it had deep meaning, not a person. I don't think you should admire people in that way. I think you should look at them like they're very good at what they do.
Yeah.
And then do whatever you feel should make you happy and pursue.
I think we agree on that. I think fandom needs to come to a point where the intense fandom is just, you're losing a little bit of yourself when you're giving so much of yourself to something that you love. I don't think I'd ever go for like a tattoo for something that I'm a fan of. It's just, that would be a little bit much for me. I don't know that I love anything that much.
It's weird because if you've ever seen, like, we can transition this into acting too. When an actor first starts wanting to get roles, or a comedian first starts wanting to get bits or get things done, they ape mannerisms off of someone that has inspired them to go and pursue this craft.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing because if you stick with that and you get into that fallen group where you're like, oh, it's getting laughs, you still do it. And that's where some comedians still have mannerisms where you see them, you're like, you're just copying this, you're just copying that. It's hard to find that line that is you, and where's your avenue? What's going to make you separate from just another person that's copying what they're doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you need to have that self-awareness. I think even today, when I'm doing comedy, especially when I'm performing, I think there's little bits of me that are always just portraying Monty Python, because that's what I grew up watching. My dad would play that stuff for me as like, this is, hilarious. Because when I grew up in the late 80s, early 90s, there wasn't this deluge of comedy content that was always available streaming everywhere. So when my dad had DVDs of Monty Python, that was like incredible for me. So I still have that dry, flat, sardonic sense of humor in a lot of things I do.
I mean, I enjoy your humor. I think your show's freaking fascinating. I wish you would come
Thanks.
in one day like a news broadcaster, like, this just in, and then just hit me with this line of like, today we have gerbils that are on fire, but the cool thing about them is they're unlike gremlins. The fire actually helps them.
I think I do need to. I think I need more news. You're right on that, because I did get tagged once on Twitter as a news resource by someone who was reporting a sexual harassment case. And I don't know why they got me, but they must have meant some Channel 34 news outlet.
Wait, like an accidental tag?
Yeah. Someone was tweeting about a sexual harassment case, and one of the news outlets that they tagged was my handle.
I want to know who that person was that clicked on your tag and was like, what the fuck? This isn't anything to do with what I was looking into. They got like this whole other mind sleep.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, that was one of the most exciting things that's happened to me on Twitter so far. So that's how big my life has gotten.
Have you gotten any flack from doing the show, like podcasting wise? Like anybody that's just had a complaint or a negative thing on it?
No, it's gone because I think if you listen to it, I don't take myself too serious. I'm just trying to make some fun content. My episodes are short. I don't want to overstay my welcome. So, but on that note, I have thought a lot when I'm writing stuff about what's offensive in 2020, because even when you go back and watch comedy from the early 2000s, it was very homophobic.
Yeah, Don't Mess with the Zohan is it's always the example I go to. Like Dave Matthews.
I've never seen that.
What? Dave Matthews is a racist redneck, bro. It is so stereotypical where you laugh at him. You're laughing at how ridiculous that anybody could think that. But if you played that movie today, you couldn't do it.
Yeah. Like Ace Ventura. I used to love that movie. Terribly transphobic at the end of the movie. You can't watch that anymore. I won't show my kids Ace Ventura.
Isn't that weird how far it's evolved? It's like, when is it just comedy? And then where do we draw a line? I get it. For some things, it makes sense. But a lot of it's like, if you're going to get like, don't watch it. You know what I mean? I'm pro, like with cancel culture. The issue I have is that I don't think anybody should be canceled because I believe that just breeds the hatred even more. Like if you see a stand-up comic making a bunch of jokes that you find insensitive to a situation or something, then don't laugh. Eventually that person's going to realize those jokes are falling flat, and then he's going to have to find new material or he's never going to get spots anymore. But when you cancel that person, then they go home and they tell their family, well, this motherfucking, then they pick that group, whatever that canceled them. And then they teach their kids to hate that group. Oh, my dad got fired and we lost our house because of this. Bill Burr talked about it. And I was like, that's such a great point of view of like, just don't laugh. Comedy's going to evolve.
But I think Bill Burr is very intelligent because Bill Burr, at least in his, I haven't seen all of his work, but in his recent work, he still makes fun of things that people aren't courageous enough to make fun of anymore. But I don't think his material is hateful, No,
he was more on the lines. He was the one that said the cancel thing. He wasn't talking about his comedy. He was just talking about the canceling in general. His issue with it is that you're just going to breed hatred. Like Bob Saget talks about it too. The fact of like, Bob Saget said he could talk about was his dick because it's his. And it's not punching at anything. And then he said a couple things he was like, I know this is going to be offensive, but who gives a shit? And then he said it on a Joe Rogan podcast. He didn't get any crap for it. I think it's just a factor of, you got to know like where the hatred actually is, like in the heart, like saying a joke or something like that. Don't take it. I hear some stuff where someone says cracker. I'm like, oh my God, should I be offended by that? No, I just don't laugh. Move on.
No, and it's tough. It's always a minefield because everybody kind of has a different definition as to what is offensive. So making comedy in 2020 is a bit of a mind bender because you always need to be aware of that. But I don't feel like I'm walking the line. I think I'm probably playing it extremely safe most of the time, but it's still fun for me, so I don't mind.
Do you ever have some stuff that you're like, damn, I wish I could say that, but I can't because it just wouldn't translate well today?
Absolutely. I have a couple of things that I wrote and I looked at it and I said, that's funny, but I just can't do it. And I had to come up with some other way to say it.
Yeah, I was talking to a person who wrote for the Jim Jeffries show, and he was like, it's so difficult to figure out what is not going to get you canceled. And I was like, how do you slip into that niche where it's like, we can still make it funny and do it, but it just seems so hard with how everything's going on. Like how many jokes now are all about coronavirus or something? It's like, shit. It's like, it seems like something I guess everybody wants to forget, but it's something that's just not going away.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And until I wrote this COVID mask sketch, I hadn't acknowledged reality in 2020 at all. But I finally just said, maybe I will do something that is relatable to what we're all kind of going through, because as much as I don't want to be reminded about it as much, sometimes it is cathartic to laugh about it. And I got some of my best feedback from people who listen to the show commented, and they're like, no, I love the mask sketch because it was like dead on. So I'll probably do a little bit more of that. But I prefer to joke about the surreal and the fantastic, because I just think it's a fun place to exist.
Make an episode about fishing. My perspective changed on fishing when someone said, "What do you mean you don't like fishing?" It's literally casting a line into another dimension where sea creatures live. And I'm like, fuck, that makes fishing really fun if you think about it like that. Like you are literally going like to this portal to a whole nother world where these underwater beings are just living. It's like that's a
Yeah.
fucking, you could, like I said, it's all about your optimism too. I talked to a homeless person and he was like, "I'm not homeless." I'm like, "Dude, you're homeless." He's like, "No, I'm an expert minimalist." I'm like, genius, just a
Wow.
genius in the making.
Yeah. How do you feel about minimalism?
My cousin is a minimalist. So it was,
Extreme?
yeah, his journey was a weird one. He had everything. He was dating a girl that had money. So they would spend like going flying private airlines, spending $50,000 on a dinner. And then
Wow.
he broke up with that because he didn't have love, he said. And then he moved in with us for the summer. And it was weird to watch that shift where like you don't have money, so you can't buy things. And he's like, "I don't need money. I don't need money to be happy." I'm like, "Okay." And then we go to fucking, what is it? Dunkin' Donuts, and he spends $8 on a coffee. I'm like, "Bro, you're budgeting now, man. You don't have that money to just piss out the window. You got to understand, like 2 shots of espresso, you don't need. That's extra $4 or $5 added on top of that." It was
Mm-hmm.
weird to see that shift, but I think it's definitely a thing to keep in mind. How many people in this world hold the perceptions more than another person's life? It's very, very hard to overcome.
Yeah. Yeah. Well put.
Are you a minimalist?
Uh, no. I know this is very crowded. This is actually my wife's closet because there's great sound dampening with all these shirts and stuff.
I was hoping you weren't wearing that dress, but okay.
No, not today. I have pared down my possessions quite a bit in the last couple of years. I'm trying to make myself more materialistic in the sense of appreciating the materials I have. I didn't. My family was, terrifically middle class growing up. We didn't have a lot. So when I got older and I started getting a good job and making good money, I bought a lot of stuff that I didn't need. So I'm trying to find a middle balance in my life again, and I'm happy with where I'm at on that. I really appreciate minimalism. I never could go extreme into it, because there's things like I love my book collection and things like that. I wouldn't get rid of all that stuff, I don't think.
I think there's just a line that needs to be towed with it. Like, you don't want to go into hoarders where it's like you can't walk through your house, so you have to make a pathway into your house. But having stuff is nice. I have my stuff, but I tend to save my money. I like to live by like the Bill Gates method, not trying to tell everybody to get a vaccine, but more on the lines of like just making sure that you watch what you're spending, because the more money you have, the more you spend. And
Yeah.
so even though I have a lot of money saved up, I'm just like, $5 for a t-shirt, it's a lot. What can I use that $5 to? Could that be a meal? Could that be something to help progress something else? And I think that line of focus is because, I mean, I went from a winter where I didn't have a job, where I was scraping around the house for coins and barely affording $1 drink every single day. And then I was like, wait a minute, like now that I have it, doesn't mean I need to spend it just because it's there. Keep it as a
Mm-hmm.
safety net. You never know when you might need it.
Yep. No, absolutely.
I got
It's easy to go down that, but to keep yourself present in the moment about financially what you could be doing to make yourself better tomorrow. It's not easy, but once you kind of get in the habit of it, it becomes natural.
Do your episodes ever have like a hidden message or hidden meaning or something in it?
I wouldn't say that I'm that deep. I think my philosophies on life are kind of written into my comedy quite a bit. Um, I think my main messages are about not taking life too seriously, appreciating the world around you, and my heavier one would probably be about the entertainment machine. My EGOT, I really kind of went off on that about how Hollywood and things like that they kind of destroy fun, in the interest of creating content.
And they kind of take all the creativity out of it a little bit. Seems like it's got many layers you got to peel through if you're going to appeal a movie, or if you're going to do something. It seems like, oh yeah, but you got to have this, you got to have that, or this doesn't fit this doesn't fit that. We're not going to roll with that. It's like, well, I had a movie pitch idea where I was like, you ever look in the mirror and think what happens if you had like another like personality, that voice in your head that's telling you to do stuff that's not right? Imagine if a person was suffering, like seeing that as his reflection in the mirror, someone telling him to do all these things, and then he starts going insane and doing all these things where he's trying to battle this inner demon. Then they find out later he goes to the hospital or something because he hurts himself real bad, and they find out that he consumed his twin in the womb, and it's been a tumor in his head that is really his brother. So it's like this whole fucking like mind screw. But then some person was like, that sucks, and I'm like, I'll just keep my opinions to myself.
The person you spoke to was not a willing ear.
Yeah, I don't know. I have random ideas. One day we're going to see a movie of a banana that is just empty and has a soul. It's going to be on the screen. I guarantee to you.
It's going to be there, because either we reboot everything until it's dead, or you have to come up with new ideas eventually.
Exactly. I don't like the reboot thing. When they said they were going to reboot Courage the Cowardly Dog, I was like, please don't. Just let that die. I liked it the way it was before.
What's your favorite reboot?
Don't know if I have one, to be honest with you.
No, you never saw something and said, okay, that was pretty fantastic?
Clash of the Titans, maybe.
Oh, okay.
I really enjoyed that movie. What about you?
Man, see, I posed this question to you not having an answer myself. There are things that I have enjoyed. I'm looking forward to the reboot. Now, I'm going to preemptive on this one. Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. Do you know that one?
I don't.
So that's a Jim Henson production of these little poor otters that just live in this tiny little, town of sentient animals. And he wants to give his mother a good gift. So it's an hour-long special. You can still find it on DVD for like $4 online, or you can watch it on Amazon Prime if you wanted to. And they're rebooting it, probably coming out next year. And all the music is going to be done by Brett McKenzie of Flight of the Conchords.
Okay.
So he did all the music for the original, for the reboot of the Muppets movie, which I don't know if that was a reboot, the Jason Segel one.
Yeah.
And that was fantastic music. I'm a big Muppets fan, so I'm excited about that. I don't consider the Dark Crystal reboot exactly, but I appreciated that one as well.
I know Jim Henson, like go back to the network thing. He was a person that never took a network note.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. The creativity, if you gotta be yourself too. If you're not 100% into your project, like if something gets changed, it seems like I've seen movies where I'm like, it feels like the director wasn't 100% into this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You can't lose the passion for something. It's like when you do Channel 34 or something. If you're not 100% feeling it, if you're getting suggestions, or if you were like, I refuse to do this radio job that my dad was involved in. He owns a radio station. He was like, I can give your own show. I didn't do it because I couldn't do this. I couldn't have my conversations that I'm having with you, even though I'd be talking to like whoever I wanted to, famous wise. I'm like, I'd rather just have a conversation with a random person that could turn into a friend. You know what I mean? Like that is deeper, and I could be myself rather than be what you suggest that I should go in that direction and be.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad that's working out for you. I think you're very easy to talk to, so you would have excelled at that, but you would have had to.
It's because I'm wearing a white shirt. Rules. I wore the white shirt because it means I'm a friend.
Oh, is that what that means?
Apparently, white.
I wore the plaid shirt because it means it's finally 50 degrees in Florida.
Yeah, it is 50 degrees now. Winter is here, my friend, and it skipped right over the season for it. One day it was like 70, the next day it was like 40.
Yeah. Oh gosh, it was 80 for so long. I mean, I went to the pool a week before Thanksgiving, which was like, okay, but also I don't mind the cold weather sometimes.
I know where your craziness comes from. It's not from Disney. It's from freaking living in Florida, man. I love Florida. God, it's the best article I've ever read was that if you look up your birth date and then Florida, man, afterwards, a dude robbed a Taco Bell on my birthday, which is the last day of the year. Oh, and tried to pay the guy with weed, and the guy wouldn't take it. I'm just like,
there's
only there.
So he tried to pay him, and the guy wouldn't accept it, so he robbed it.
He robbed the tacos. He's like,
that's quite these. The story.
I mean, honestly, if you don't accept it, then it's your fault, not that guy. He gave you a currency. You just didn't like what his currency was. I mean,
Well, he
come on.
probably would have gotten in trouble. The guy's just trying to keep his Taco Bell job, you know?
Yeah, but who really cares? It's Taco Bell, right?
Man, we're all just trying to get by.
Look, if you're going to Taco Bell and caring about your health, that's the first mistake. Go to like a Panera or something.
Yeah, no, you don't care about your health. No. You just want that nasty grease meat, and you want to douse it in the Diablo sauce.
Yeah, double
and have
the
a Baja
burn.
Blast.
That's the only reason I go is for a Baja.
Baja Blast is fantastic.
So they started selling it in cans in stores, and then you're like, I lost that flavor, that tang. It was because Taco Bell made it so you only get it here. And once they opened up that doorway, it's like getting breakfast all day at McDonald's. It just lost something.
No, I feel exactly the same way. I always thought, I wish I had Baja Blast more often. I don't want to only go to Taco Bell for it, but when you only go to Taco Bell for it, it felt more special. That's probably why it tastes better.
Yeah, and that's what life happens. It gets sold somewhere and gets ruined.
So we got to preserve our Baja Blasts in this life.
That's the only thing that's really important.
Keep them special, yeah.
Sponsorship.
And that's why Count Chocula is only at Halloween. If you had it all year round, it wouldn't be the same.
That's why it feels weird eating Boo Berry in December.
Well, that just means you've been rationing out your Boo Berry a little bit better.
Either that or my store selling expired cereal.
Are you going to have some after this recording?
I'm ending it right now just to go grab a bowl, to be honest with you.
That's fine.
Garin,
I understand.
I love you.
Hey, man, I love you too. This has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for having me on.
It would have hurt so bad if you would have been like, I like you. That would have been so bad.
Or thank you.
Or I appreciate you. Like, that's why I hate Chick-fil-A is you don't actually mean it. But seriously, where can people find Channel 34, man? I'll make sure I link it in the description, but go ahead and tell people where they can find you at.
Well, my show is on all podcast platforms. Channel 34 Sketch Comedy Radio is the easiest way to search it. Channel 34 Pod is my Twitter account. But yeah, look it up. I would love for you to listen to it. Follow me on Twitter. I don't know that I have that much interesting to say on Twitter, but I do try to stay active. No, I've had a blast doing this, and I think you're a fantastic person. I am all about love. Look up Sharon Salzberg, the one of the leaders of the love and kindness meditation movement in America. She's fantastic, and she's really helped me in my life. So that's a plug for someone that I have no connection to.
That's true love.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And thank you for listening to this episode Out of the Blank. Stay tuned for our next episode.